Es geht weiter, immer heiter. Zurück bei Tales of Rise auf dem Frachtschiff in Richtung Almedrea, beziehungsweise in Richtung, wo sie gerade auch unterwegs ist. Almedrea ist kein Ort, nein, das ist der Name des Lords des 5. Reiches, der uns hier, beziehungsweise stimmt gar nicht, des 4. Reiches, Entschuldigung. Des 4. Reiches, des Windreiches, der uns, vielen Dank PS5 da oben für die Aktualisierungsmitteilung, der uns, beziehungsweise die Anwendung von jetzt ziemlich verarscht hat, wenn man das mal so sagen darf. Und ja, hat sich auch so gefangen nehmen lassen, dachte sich so, ja cool, ich tue einfach mal so, als wäre er unterlegen, ich flehe euch an, bitte tut mir nichts und so. Hat deren Hass geschürt und prompt hat sie deren ganze Astralenergie aufgenommen. Tja, doof gelaufen, wa? Sie lebt, die Bewohner von jetzt, zumindest die meisten davon, sind tot und ja, für uns geht es weiter. Auf der Jagd nach hier. Und hier sind noch ein paar Gespräche. Wie man sieht, in der letzten Folge hatten wir noch ein Gespräch mit der Rinwelt. Das lief zwar eher aus Versehen. Ich wollte bin auch rausfinden, in die Richtung gelatscht. Und so, oh ja, Gespräch. Okay, gut. Und ja, jetzt mal die nächsten Gespräche. Ich gehe mal zu Shione.
Lean much further, you'll go overboard. Keeping an eye out for Almedria's ship?
I'm looking at the ocean.
The ocean?
Yeah. The waves. They help me think. This world is filled with natural wonders. The icy air and white peaks of Cislodia. The lush green glades of Menancia. The harsh wastes of Calaglia. But Menancia has its Lake of Death, and Nias its ruins. And they wouldn't be there if it weren't for that contest.
Say we actually managed to put a stop to the crown contest for good. What do you think will happen between the Danans and the Renans then?
You first.
Well, I want to believe that the coexistence we saw in Menancia can happen elsewhere too. It's insane for all of us to keep fighting. If Menancia can do it, so can everyone else.
Yeah, I think that would be good too. A world where everyone can get along. At least, that's what I've come to believe.
You sure have changed.
I can't lie to you. Since I was young, I've looked down on the Danans too. But I've seen a lot. And I see things differently now. I've seen so many ugly and terrible things in this world. And yet, they didn't come from just the Danans. And the good things too. They didn't come from just the Renans. Kindness and cruelty exist on both sides. A person's race doesn't factor into it. So, I guess you're right after all, Alphen. I have changed. You know, I've never actually touched another person like this.
Shion.
Ever since I was on Lenegis, I've always been alone. Even after I came to Dana. Always.
And now?
Do you still not remember your past?
No. Sometimes it feels like I can almost remember. But then this mask stops me.
The mask keeps you from remembering why you have the mask in the first place. It's a little ironic, isn't it?
A little. Well, it won't be long now before you're rid of those thorns, you know? Only 2 lords remain. And once you have their master course, you'll be able to create the Renis Alma, right? Then you can... Shion?
Sorry, it's nothing. Promise. You're right, though. It'll all be over soon. I never could have made it this far on my own. I have everyone to thank for that. Including... especially you, Alphen.
Don't worry about it. We're friends, after all.
Yeah, we are.
Warum, wenn er das ungute Gefühl nicht los, dass Shione uns etwas vorenthält? Vielleicht sogar belügt. Ja, man will sie Renas Alma wirklich dazu nutzen, um sich von ihren Dornen zu befreien, oder kommt noch irgendwas anderes? So ein richtiger Storyplot. Ja, mal gucken. So, die sagen nichts, sie sind stumm. Gehen wir zum nächsten. Das wäre... Jo. Was? Ah, natürlich, mit euch kann ich direkt quatschen oder so ansprechen. Dann triggern automatisch. Du, Aline, du auch? Ah, er aber nicht. Doch, vielleicht auch. No? Ja. Na gut, er ist noch nicht sauer.
You don't look so good. You all right?
The floor. It keeps moving. How can you stand it? How can you even stand?
I'm not the best person to ask about discomfort. I can't feel pain, remember?
I still can't believe what happened in Niez. Even now. As a lord, my expectations for Almeidrea were already pretty low. But the way she treated human lives like they're mere playthings.
Yeah. And it wasn't as if the situation in Niez was improving much to begin with.
You mean Deadime?
The whole reason I started fighting back was because of my anger at the atrocities of Renin rule. Back then, all I had to worry about was fighting the Renins for the sake of the Danans. But then I met Shion and the people of Menancia, and things became a lot more complicated. It's even messier now that we have to worry about Danans like Deadime.
It used to be that the Danans were the ones in the right, and the Renins were the ones in the wrong. Though, maybe that was just a biased perspective, from being on the side of the oppressed.
Exactly. I'll never tolerate the Renins ruling over us. But nothing ever ends up being as black and white as you'd expect it to be either. That's clear to me now.
That said, even putting aside bad apples like Deadime for a moment, you may be able to free the Danan people, but that won't undo 300 years of oppression. It'll be hard for them to not give in to their resentment. I think maybe that's why I clung to our dream so hard back in Menancia.
Even if his motivations weren't pure, Dohalim has a good heart. He didn't sink to the depths Almeidrea did.
You don't understand. I'm saying that it goes deeper than that. This hierarchy we live in, it's not solely something the Renins invented. I remember a story Rinwell once told me. She said before the Renins invaded, we Danans had our own class system. We are the ones who divided ourselves. I saw it in Deadime's eyes. He wanted to rule over others.
To hear Bayfon tell it, Deadime wasn't always that way.
But as time went on, and he and the Darkwings fought the Renins, he eventually changed. I guess what I'm getting at is, if we defeat the Renins but just go back to the way things were before, was there even any point in fighting?
But that world isn't the one you want to create, right?
Maybe not. But to tell you the truth, these days I'm not so sure that dream is even possible.
You have your promise to Megal, though. Your home and the people of Menancia are depending on you.
I know. My brother. He truly believed in his dream of coexistence. And I suppose, even now, many people still do. And then there's you.
Who, me?
You and Shion.
I'm not sure I follow.
Okay, then let me spell it out for you. How many other Renins and Danins do you know that get on as spectacularly as the two of you?
I don't know that I'd say spectacularly.
Well, I suppose it's really all a matter of how you look at it, isn't it?
I really don't see what you're getting.
Ugh, I think I'm getting seasick again. Sorry. Can you just give me a wide berth for a few minutes?
Kein Problem. Ja, sieht auch nicht so gut aus, die Arme. Geht's wohl ihm auch nicht so gut? Hey, Kumpel.
Hold that pose long enough and someone might just come along and paint you.
Any artist who'd see fit to paint me needs their eyes tested.
What can you tell me about Almadria?
Not as much as you'd probably wish. I only ended up crossing paths with her a handful of times, after I was chosen to be a lord on Lenegus.
Ah, right. I almost forgot about Lenegus. How much do you think they know about what's been going on down here?
It's safe to assume they know everything, though I know not why they choose to remain uninvolved. Perhaps they see what's been happening as just part of the ongoing crown contest.
Even what Almadria did? Has it really reached the point where her actions are seen as normal?
Not to my knowledge, no. At its core, the crown contest is a competition to see who can amass the most astral energy. And to amass such energy, slaves are needed to collect it from. It's therefore against the Lord's interest to kill them.
So then why would Almadria do something like that?
We must remember that time is running out in the crown contest. Perhaps her hand was forced, so to speak. It is a way to accrue astral energy faster and in larger quantities than through slave labor. Doing so kills off that labor force, obviously, but it is a means to an end nonetheless. No one could have foreseen that something like the Hollowing would arise back when the contest was first conceived.
Is becoming the Sovereign of Rena really that important to the Lords?
Of course. It's the greatest prize one can attain in their eyes. In that respect, at least, I'm really not that surprised that Almadria resorted to what she did, as utterly despicable as it is.
It's reassuring to hear you feel the same way I do.
I worry that the only reason I never did anything similar in Menancia was due to my lack of ambition.
If you didn't want to be reminded of your past, you could have just plugged your ears.
You think too highly of me. I'm afraid I must respectfully disagree. I'm not nearly as virtuous of a person as you might wish to believe.
If that's so, would you have been so shaken up when Kisara lost her brother? Why else would you turn your back on your own kind and choose to fight for Miguel's dream? Aren't we just Danins?
A curious choice of words. Did what you see in Mahag Sar hit you that hard?
What Deadheim did to that city, he didn't liberate anyone. Anyone who refused to follow him was an enemy in his eyes. 300 years of Renin rule taught him nothing.
What I have come to understand is that the conflict extends beyond Danin versus Renin. There is an internal quarrel as well. I mean to bring about a true, lasting coexistence in Menancia. But there are more walls we must topple first.
And you don't think you can pull it off?
Well, you seem to think you can, at least.
Does that make us enemies?
Insofar as an exchange of swordplay, no, it doesn't.
Not good enough for you?
Are you really... Forgive me. I will continue to fight by your side a while longer. That much I have decided.
Ganz seltsame Beziehung zwischen den beiden, aber okay. Mit Lon noch quatschen. Ich überlege gerade, ob wir vielleicht mal... Na gut, das ist schwierig, weil ich wollte gerade sagen, vielleicht mal die ganzen Boost-Items wie Lavendel, Salbei und so mal in die Truppe vergeben sollen, aber geht ja gar nicht. Aktuell im Team. Super.
I took a look around inside the ship just in case, but I didn't find anything that looked like it might be suspicious.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
You know, it wasn't until I left Calaglia that I finally realized just how big the world is.
When we tore down the wall in Calaglia, and I could finally see the horizon in the far-off distance, I had the exact same thought.
Yeah, somehow the sea is different though. I'm not sure just how to put it. It's almost as if it just goes on forever. I bet my old man would have been blown away by this view.
Yeah.
Ever since he died, I've been thinking about what it was that he was really trying to say to me at the end. I keep going over his words again and again. And heck, maybe I'm just overthinking it all. But still, sometimes I wonder if it could have turned out differently. If there was something I could have done. But no matter how much I play it back, I'm still no closer to finding any answers. And then there's everything with Rinwell. I stopped her from killing Almadria, but was that really the right thing to do? Or did I just end up making things harder for her? I feel like such a screw-up.
You're not the only one. I keep asking myself what Zephyr would have done had he been here. Like, I think, how would Zephyr have handled Rinwell?
Yeah, I think he definitely would have stopped her. No doubt about it.
And that's exactly what you did, Law. I think he'd be really proud of you.
Alphen.
Zephyr's not the worst yardstick to measure ourselves against. Let's both do our best to make him proud.
Sounds like a deal. Thanks, Alphen.
Wonder how much longer it's going to be before we catch up to Almadria. I'll ask Mahavar.
Ja, würde ich auch sagen. Mahavar. Mahavar. Setz die Chance. Ausruhen. Ja, komm. Schaden kann es nicht. Du, 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 du.
Look who's up. Good timing. We're closing in on her stern as we speak.
That's the ship? She's huge. Law, go gather the others, will you? Think you'll be able to flank them without getting spotted?
Yeah, with the fog as our ally, I think I might just pull it off. Long as we ain't too noisy, we should be okay.
What'll you do if they catch on to us?
Not much I can do. Ship that size, they'll probably blow us to bits before we ready cannons.
Persistent little things. Evidently, I shouldn't have spared the wretched vermin. Hungry already, my dear? Worry not, for you shall have plenty to feast upon shortly.
Das sieht ja rosig aus für uns.
Perfect. You managed to get us right up beside them.
I'll stay with the ship so we can leave as soon as you're done.
Good. Then let's find Almadria.
Mobile Festung, Gradia. Sehr schön, Freunde, sehr schön. Sind zurückgekehrt.
Shion, I want to thank you. What brought this on? What you said helped to calm me. Don't mention it.
Also Freunde, das Gespräch werden wir in der nächsten Folge starten. Jetzt will ich für die Folge noch ganz kurz, bereits angedeutet, noch die Dinge ausrüsten hier. Lavendel und so Zeugs. Wird Zeit, komm. Wir müssen uns boosten, Freunde. Höhere Defense. Kisao ist natürlich der Tank, da ist klar, sie was braucht. Mit Elfen mache ich auch viel im Angriff. Dualim kann auch nicht schaden. Rosmarin, Elementarangriff. Da geben wir natürlich vor allem auf Rinwell was drauf. Schon kriegt die anderen beiden. Safran, Elementarverteidigung verstärkt. Kriegt Kisauer 2. Die Frage, Verteidigung generell. Wir können eigentlich alle ein bisschen was gebrauchen. Law ist ein bisschen zu tief, als dass ich das Ding boosten möchte. Ja, also ähnlich wie Kisauer natürlich, aber bei Kisauer machen wir es halt eher, weil sie ja eigentlich der Tank ist. Dann gehen wir noch 2 auf Helfen. Ich mache es ein bisschen auf, wie soll ich sagen, auf nach Gefühl. Die Ausdauer verstärkt. Da sind wir eigentlich gerade relativ gut dabei. Rotes Salbei, so. Mehr Power für Elfen, dann direkt mal 230 voll. Und den Rest für Dualim. Das Eisenkraut. Deutlich verstärkt, so. Shione kann es auch nicht schaden, weil sie doch viel im Kampf noch dabei ist. Zum Heilen halt vor allem. So, das ist Elfen dann doch relativ schwach, deswegen booste ich ihn jetzt auch mal. Elementarverteidigung, so. Dringend alle Verstärke. Gebe mal Dualim wieder mal ein bisschen was. Der ist schon länger nichts mehr. Dann Elfen, Law und letzten noch für Shione. Roter Jasmin, die Resistenz deutlich verstärkt. Ich würde sagen, da sind wir relativ fair und verteilen es. So 6 Gruppenmitglieder, aber egal. Salbe noch ein bisschen mehr KP. Da gibt es jetzt 50 mehr. Dann reden wir so weit, dass sie auch ein bisschen darüber ist. Okay. Die noch ein bisschen mehr. Und den letzten kriegt noch Kisauer als Tank. So, Freunde, die Truppe wurde verstärkt. Wir haben noch ein Gespräch übrig und müssen Almedrias Kampfschiff besiegen. Nee, erforschen. Frachtschiff. Ah, ja. Erforschen, erobern, entern. Sagen wir mal entern, klingt viel besser. Wir müssen es entern. Wie wir das genau machen werden und ob es überhaupt klappen wird, das und vieles mehr in der nächsten Folge zurück bei Tales of Arise. Bis dahin, ciao zusammen.